is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield myself such time as I may consume.
Gentleman is
I'm
recognized.
sorry, I claim the time in opposition, and I'm opposed to the amendment.
Gentleman's been recognized.
Mr. Chair, I oppose the amendment en bloc. We know that Democrats' reckless spending and bad economic policies are hurting the American people. Let's look at the inflation numbers. You have fuel oil, gasoline, used cars, groceries, public transit, all dramatically up. Inflation is the big issue. Inflation is at a 40-year high of 8.6%. A 40-year high. Food is up 10%, gas 50%, shelter 5.5% from just last year. This is a result of Democrat policies, and the American people will pay $5,200 more this year than last year for the same goods and services. This is a direct result of bad economic policies. So instead of working with Republicans to address these crises, Democrats are jamming through a partisan messaging bill that stands no chance of becoming law. This is bad policy. It's bad politics, bad process, the whole thing. The en bloc is more of the same. Now, I will say that there are a few of the amendments that Republicans could support. I'll give you an example. Ms. Garcia offered an amendment that focused on onerous HUD regulations or unfair funding formulas. Committee Republicans and House Republicans agree that HUD should not get in the way of local public housing authorities' ability to provide assistance to the homeless. A recent Government Accountability Office study examined, there's a request in the bill that we have a study and examine and report on the impediments that HUD is putting in place so that we can actually better serve the very people that we intend for the Housing and Urban Development Department to serve and for public housing authorities to serve. But rather than work with committee Republicans on this issue, Democrats poison the well with partisan amendments to score political wins with their progressive base. For example, in this en bloc, Democrats want to further politicize the Federal Reserve by adding a third mandate to address socioeconomic issues. This will divert the Fed's attention from its dual mandate of maximum sustainable employment and price stability. It will also threaten the stability of the monetary policy authorities we've given the Fed and add uncertainty and risk to the Fed's responsibilities. The Federal Reserve is independent for a reason. It ensures that it is accountable to the American people and long-term economic growth, not the political whims or serving one party here in Washington. And even President Biden acknowledged the importance of the Fed's independence in his so-called plan for fighting inflation. Additionally, this en bloc continues Democrats' government knows best approach. For example, it directs HUD and Treasury to create another interagency task force to focus on the state of housing in this country. Housing doesn't need another task force. It needs results. To be clear, HUD's mission is to, quote, create strong, sustainable, inclusive communities and quality, affordable homes for all, end quote. And after 50 years and nearly $2 trillion in spending, this amendment says that HUD is not getting the job done. An additional interagency task force isn't going to fix that. Congress needs to reform how HUD operates so that it can assist the families and individuals it is tasked with serving. In conclusion, this en bloc is more of the same. It will politicize the Fed, expand the CFPB's authority, and make credit harder to access and more expensive, ultimately harming the very consumers Democrats are claiming to help. I urge my colleagues to oppose this en bloc, and I urge my colleagues to oppose the bill. And I reserve the balance of my time.
The gentleman from North Carolina reserves. The gentleman from Texas.